Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Finally got over that 100 sub level mark after being at 99 for so long. But thanks to everybody who's subbed recently. I appreciate it. Now we're going to continue on. And it's kind of late now. We're already ready for the third one already. But going to do my review of the second episode in the Flux saga, the War of the Sontarans. When we first open up, we have Jody is getting another psychic vision again in black and white. She comes to the old Adams family, creepy looking house, and a lot of people have said that this is like they think it's something to do with Lungborough, like from the novelizations and the I guess some audios and stuff too has to do with looms and Time Lord per generation or something. And then she finally snaps out of it, and they figure out that they're actually on the battlefield, and she's worried. She gets finds that Dan and Yaz are there too. And see, there's a bunch of dead British soldiers around, and they kind of figure out that she's on the Crimean War. And Mary C. Cole shows up, a historical figure similar to Florence Nightingale. And they banter back and forth again to talking about whether about the Russians and stuff, and she's never heard of the Russians, but she has heard of Sontarans, crazily enough. And their Sontaran shows up, and we pop back to Vinder, who is sort of materialized in the temple. He's disoriented, wondering what's going on, and one of the floating lanterns comes towards him and asks him the question that they ask everybody in this: that if can you fix fix what's going on? And he doesn't know, but you're back again to the group, and Mary showing her to the hotel. She calls it that she's established, where she treats the wounded. And as they're talking, both Dan and Yaz start to just disappear, and the doctor legs it back to the TARDIS after they've disappeared and tries to get in, but there's, for some reason, there's no door anymore on the TARDIS, and she can't get in. So while she's there lamenting this fact, there's some Sontarans closing on her, so she has to beat it back to the hotel. Meanwhile, back in Earth, Dan ends up popping back in his own time, in his own location even, and then he sees a big Sontaran ship there, and he quickly, after that, a squad of Sontarans ends up chasing him around the locality. Back again. We're going to be going back and forth all the time. Back to the temple where Yaz pops in. And who shows up at 1820s guy, the one who was building in the last episode. We assume this is the fruits of all his labor. And he's a bit disoriented of what's going on. And he has some banter with Yaz too. And discuss, she wants to know if she can help or if she could go along with him. But he decides that it's best if he goes off on his own because things are going the way they should be. And one of the floating lanterns shows up again, asking if Yas can fix what's going on. And of course, she says that she can, even though she probably can't. But she doesn't want them to know that, so she says, "Yeah, I can fix it." And time to head back again to the hotel slash hospital, where the doctor is talking to the lieutenant general who is there, and having fun putting putting him in his place. They have some banter between him, Mary, and the doctor, and this is where this is sort of like. It depends how picky you want to be. You could probably say that this is similar to the first two series, where he's putting down the stupid white guy and making Mary look a lot better. But yeah, I guess that's subjective. Uh, Mary's talks about she has a back in the she treats everybody, and the doctors they see that there's a Sontaran that they have back there in chains that Mary's been treating, and he's very Strax like, um, saying how he's gonna have pleasure stomping them, and the doctor kind of berates him too. And but the doctor wants to set up a deal with this prisoner and says, "If I let you go, tell tell them that I know where the doctor is." So they agree. They let him go, and then the doctor takes Mary out later. They go through an invisible barrier. Well, it's a cloaked barrier, and the doctor wants to leave Mary there along with her little pad so she can make notes of everything that's going on here, keeping track of the Sontarans' movements and what they're doing and so on. And it's kind of irresponsible putting her in that position, I think, but she does, and Mary seems to have no problem with it, so she stays there doing that. Meanwhile, back again, we're going back to the Sontarans, and Dan's met up with his parents, his folks, and there's some good dialogue there. I enjoy both of their characters. Dan decides that he wants to get a closer look at the Sontarans and everything, and wants to infiltrate. And, meanwhile, we go back. We're to the temple where Yaz and Vinder are together now, exchanging dialogue and stuff. And it's back up to the ship again. Or not the ship, but actually at the on the ground there where the Sontarans have captured some human spies, and they're going to put them in front of a firing squad, which Dan is observing there. Then uh, we go back to the doctor, who has used the sonic to send out the big signal, which everybody hears, and of course the Sontaran hears, which is the indication that it's time to have their discussion. And Sontaran shows up, and again, Banner, the doctor tells him to take his helmet off, and says, "Oh, well, put it back on." In second thought, more unfunny stuff, and trying to have some gravitas like the previous doctors have had, which doesn't quite have, and the Sontarans not having any of it. She tells him pretty much to bugger off, and everything will be okay. But he's not having it, and the lieutenant general shows up, and tells the doctor that she doesn't speak for all of them. They take the doctor away under guard, and the big battle then gets ready to commence between the Sontarans and the British forces. Some good visuals on that. And on the way back, of course, the doctor escapes her captor by giving the old one finger knock it thing, call back to sort of like McCoy or maybe Pertwee. Renders him unconscious. We head back to the Earth again in the present day, and Dan's working his way in to try to get into one of the Sontaran ships back to the temple. And now Azor, Swarm, and the third dude who reminds me of the Shadow from the Armageddon Factor all show up at the temple. Once again, the glowing orbs show up and want to know if they can fix things. And of course, he says that's why they're there. He's there to fix things. And so they head off towards the inner sanctum, back to Earth after the battle. And you see the carnage there that the Earth forces never had a chance really against these energy weapons, obviously. Doctor and Mary are one of the Sontaran ships. And Dan's also there, and they happens by hitting a bunch of buttons, ends up being able to talk to the doctor. And the doctor tells him to put his phone close to the screen so that she can like download any information that he's collected up until that point, which he does. And she actually sees the extent of what's going on there. And the longer they talk, the more it gives his Sontarans a chance to catch up to them, figure out where he's at. Back again to the temple where the Swarm is kind of toying with Yaz. Actually, puts his hand around her throat. She tells him to get his hands off of her. And Vinder ends up taking a few shots at several of them, and they always vanish and reappear, and he can't hit them. So there's no point in trying to use his gun against them. Yeah. Meanwhile, the doctor figures out that they're gonna sabotage the Sontarans, how they recharge their energy supply because they need to every so often through the ship and everything, and they're gonna sabotage that so that they can't do that and recharge themselves anymore, which is also sort of a call back to the Sontaran experiment where Lynx had to go back to his ship to recharge. And then here the Sontaran figures it out. Meanwhile, Doggo has showed up again to save Dan from being executed. He just was kind of there all of a sudden. I don't know where he showed up from, but he did. Now they're going to come up with a plan to ram the Sontaran ships to take them out. But before they do that, they eject and end up in the water. And here's where the doctor meets up with both of them after they've rammed the ships. And the doctor has to go now and ask if Dan wants to come with her. And they'll be heading back to the temple. this point. And once again, the doctor manages to tell the doggo there she's not done with him for some reason. Um, must have a history or something. And both of them head towards the inner sanctum, knowing that there's probably some kind of trap or something going on here. And they make it into the sanctum, and there's the three baddies waiting for them. Once again, actually, it's not. It's. I'm fairly interested in what their deal is, but Swarm's just messing with her at this point, talking about. Yeah, so they're doing a 5-second countdown here until the energy goes through them, and Swarm asks the question, what's going to happen to her. So that's where it ends. That's the cliffhanger for this week. Hopefully they start up where they left off and don't just bring in the three baddies at the very end of it, because there's only 6 episodes, and it'd be nice if they move the story forward a little faster than what they're doing. But well, we'll see. Things I've liked so far in this one. I like that they have the Sontarans back to being an actual menace and not slapstick comedic relief like they've been in recent years. I like the Sontarans of the Sontaran Experiment and Invasion of Time a lot better than the ones like the Paternask or whatever gang. That was okay as a one-off, but I just don't want them being comic relief all the time. It doesn't suit them. A little bit of the Doctor is finally still not the Doctor for me, but a couple moments where might say that she's more Doctor-like than in the past. It's kind of too little, too late, I think, but at least we're seeing some of it. As far as the story, again, it's back and forth, but wasn't as hectic as the first episode, so that's another plus. I liked again, Dan is a good character. I enjoyed beating his parents. They were funny. They were enjoyable characters too. That's probably the positives from it that I can think of. The negatives again, it's a little more subtle now than past series, but they're still I'm still seeing some stuff that white guy bad or just male bad. I don't know, especially with the lieutenant general. And occasionally they're kind of like making Dan out to be stupid, but hopefully that won't continue. That's probably the main bad things. Again, or at least I wasn't bored or anything with it. As far as a rating for this, I give it probably a little less than last week. I give it a 5 out of 10 instead of last week I gave a 6. And we'll see what happens in the next one, whether it'll hang around that area or not, ratings wise for me. Depends on the story. As far as the ratings, I guess we're down a little bit from last week. Again, we'll see what happens. I don't know. As far as I guess some more rumors came out after this came out, and I'm not really going to talk much about that, except that if they're just rumors, but if they turn out to be true, then the show's probably pretty much screwed. Even even if RTD comes back and does an amazing job with stuff. So we'll see. Time will tell. Okay, that's about all for this one. The new one's coming up again in a couple of days. I'll probably be doing a review on that and some other stuff in the works too. You can look out for. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate it. Again, appreciate the subs. Finally, I thought I'd never get over that 100 mark. Take care, everybody. I'll see you, excuse me. See you in the next one.